Greetings and welcome, dear friend. There are celestial sounds that are seldom discussed. We're familiar with the heavenly host's battle cries. We recognize the powerful voice of the Almighty that parted waters and moved mountains. Yet there's a different sound, one that is almost beyond imagination. It is the laughter of God. It's not a laugh laced with irony or ridicule, but the laughter of a father who already knows how the story concludes. The chortle of one who witnesses the enemy's plans fall apart before they take root. It is the laughter of pure joy that ensues when you make even the smallest leap of faith. And today, it was your actions that elicited this heavenly laughter. What you did might have seemed unremarkable to you, perhaps small or even done in desperation. You reached out in prayer when you were weary. You offered forgiveness when resentment beckoned. You embraced hope when surrender seemed tempting. You quietly agreed with God when saying no would have been simpler. This didn't make the news. There was no applause. Perhaps no one noticed, but the heavens did. And in witnessing it, the throne room was filled with laughter. God laughed, not because of triviality, but in recognition of its significance. He understood the repercussions. He foresaw how this seemingly fragile human act would unravel the enemy's supposedly foolproof plans. His laughter came because what was intended to bury you has now become fertile ground for your blessings. Contemplate that. What you deemed insignificant, God magnified in the realm of eternity. You might have been your own harshest judge. You replay the errors. You measure your progress with standards that aren't truly yours. You convince yourself that unless your achievements appear grand, they don't hold value. But let me tell you something true. Heaven measures differently. You might see missteps. He sees courage in the act of movement. You see a small seed. He sees the vast forest it will become. You see a prayer that feels faint. He sees the faith it took to utter it. You regard your obedience as negligible. In the heavens, it is seen as a ripple affecting generations you'll never meet. That is why he laughed, because today, without realizing it, you thwarted hell's strategies. You stood firm where others anticipated a fall. You spoke where they expected silence. You acted when everything urged you to remain still. That faithfulness made God smile. Picture a child taking those first faltering steps, unsteady yet determined. The parent isn't upset that the child can't sprint yet. No, the parent is filled with joy because there's movement. That halting step is a triumph to be celebrated. That's how God looked upon you today. Not with frustration over flaws or absence, but with delight at your willingness to step forward. Heaven burst with joy, not because your move was perfect, but because it was made with faithfulness. Here's something to hold on to. The mere fact that you are present is testament enough. The plans against you were never mild. They aimed to deplete you to the point of disbelief, to silence your prayers, to bury your hopes, to persuade you that God wasn't listening. Yet here you are, breathing, listening, seeking Him. That perseverance alone signifies triumph. Every time you awaken and choose faith, even if it's wavering, God laughs because once again, the adversary's schemes have faltered. Your presence today is not a mere chance of survival. It is a testament to God's sustained hand over you. And if yesterday, the enemy couldn't defeat you, imagine the unease he feels regarding what God intends to do with you tomorrow. This is why you should never diminish the power of small acts of obedience. Heaven's way of accounting is unlike that of the earth's. The world acknowledges only grand achievements. The diploma, the promotion, the breakthrough with publicity. But God celebrates every unnoticed moment. The prayer whispered in your home, the act of forgiveness that passed without appreciation, the quiet sacrifice more costly than you'll ever admit. Each one of these moments is recorded in eternity. Each one delights the heavens. Each one shakes the foundations of darkness. So, listen to me clearly. If you feel today was unproductive, if you believe your efforts went unnoticed, if you think your obedience was too minor to matter, You're mistaken because heaven has already taken note. God has already laughed, and that laughter signifies that victory has already commenced. If you could glimpse what unfolded in the unseen as you made your move today, you would never doubt yourself again. For what seemed small on earth roared in eternity. What felt like a mere whisper in your heart became a shout in the heavens. God laughed because the very strategy intended to defeat you is now unraveling. This laughter is not passive, it is a demonstration of power. It signifies that the battle's outcome has already been settled. You must comprehend this. The adversary studies your patterns. He forecasts your actions based on past behaviors. He constructs traps depending on your silence, fatigue, and uncertainties. But today, you disrupted the pattern. You did something unexpected by the enemy. You gave when you were depleted. You spoke when silence was anticipated. You rose when you were expected to falter. That deed triggered forces beyond your understanding. It's akin to a chess game where your opponent assumes they've cornered you, only for you to make a move that changes the entire scenario. God's laughter was incited because he saw what the enemy could not. Your faithfulness has already altered the outcome. And here's the beautiful reality. Heaven doesn't exclusively react to grand, astonishing gestures. Heaven responds to faith. Heaven answers to purity of heart. Heaven listens to truth. One quiet yes carries more significance than countless loud declarations made without sincerity. One act of integrity in the shadows holds more authority than 100 public acts seeking recognition. This is why you must cease downplaying yourself. You must stop treating your obedience as insignificant unless acknowledged by others. You must stop measuring your path against other people's highlight moments. Heaven isn't captivated by the clamor. Heaven is attentive to the essence. Today, you affirmed your depth. Perhaps you felt unnoticed. Perhaps you've wrestled with the notion that you're merely getting by, not truly progressing. However, survival is not insignificant. Survival is a proclamation. Every breath you draw says, "I am still here." Every step you take whispers, "The plan against me has faltered." And every time you rise and choose to continue, heaven leans in, observing, celebrating, announcing, they're still standing. You might not recognize your own resilience because you've endured it for so long, but allow me to remind you, the forces that sought to destroy you have not prevailed. That alone transforms your story into a living victory. Now, it's not just about enduring, it's about gaining momentum. For when God laughs, it's not just about joy, it signals change. It means the circumstances have shifted. It means the season has turned. It signifies the very earth beneath you is poised to reveal what you have been waiting for. That's why you may sense the rising tension. That's why your spirit discerns something greater is approaching, because heaven's laughter is not a whisper. It stirs the atmosphere. It disrupts timelines. It brings forth breakthroughs into the present. And it all started with you. Imagine it this way. Every small step you've taken has been like casting a pebble into water. Initially, it seems like a minor splash, but then those ripples extend outward, farther and wider than you might have imagined. Today's action, the one you thought unnoticed, sent waves through eternity. Angels were dispatched, chains were broken, doors began to respond, seeds that seemed dormant were stirred. While you might not witness all of it yet, you will, because heaven doesn't laugh without a reason. That sound holds weight. It bears promise. Remember this crucial aspect. If God is laughing, it means you can cease doubting. Stop questioning the timing. Stop doubting your strength. Stop wondering if you are enough. Because if heaven has already rejoiced over your step, then your victory is no longer uncertain. It's just a matter of time. You may have been taught to rejoice only at the destination, but heaven celebrates with each initial move. The journey holds sanctity. Every bit of progress is sacred. Once you recognize this, you let go of the burden of "not yet" and begin walking with the assurance of being chosen. This realization transforms everything. You cease seeking the fleeting approval of people and instead embrace the steadfast approval of God. And when you carry that within you, nothing can daunt you anymore. So, let me leave you with this. God observed you today. He noticed the concealed effort, the quiet agreement, the trembling faithfulness. He saw it, and he laughed with joy. That laughter means your journey is not stagnant. That laughter signifies that your obedience holds more power than you comprehend. That laughter means the conclusion has already been rewritten in your favor. Hold on to this image in your heart. The Creator of all things, relaxed on his throne, smiling and laughing with delight over your life. Allow this sound to be your foundation. Let it drown out every falsehood, every uncertainty, every voice saying you're falling behind. Because if the divine is laughing, it guarantees that your story concludes with triumph. When such words resonate with you, your spirit longs to remain in its embrace. That's why Chosen by God exists, offering music crafted for prayer, meditation, and deep rest. The path to serenity awaits you there.